Assalamu alaikum. I'm going to be giving you a quick overview of the Surah Al-Fatiha. So it means the opening is the first chapter in the Quran. The Prophet ﷺ called the greatest chapter and referred to it as the mother of the book, as it encompasses the entire message of the Quran. Whatever comes after stems from its central message. It is known as the seven oft repeated because its 7 verses are repeated several times throughout the day by Muslims during the daily prayers. If we look at these 7 verses, we can divide them into 3 main parts. The first 4 verses discuss the nature of Allah, who He is, and some of His important qualities and attributes. Then there is verse 5, which is the middle part, which describes our relationship with Allah and what it should look like. In the last verses, verse 6 and 7, we ask Allah to guide us to the straight path, and these 3 parts come together to form the central message of the opening. The first bit which talks about the nature of Allah begins with "in the name of Allah." This sets the tone not only for the chapter but how to approach everything we do. We say Bismillah whenever we begin doing something good, or even taking a sip of water. Everything we do should be with Allah's name, and for His sake it's a way to calibrate our mindset and bring our focus back to Allah. The verse goes on to affirm 2 important names and attributes of Allah: compassionate and the merciful. It is understood that the word compassionate is meant for all His creation in this world, and the word merciful is meant of His disbelievers, particularly in the afterlife. In the second verse, we praise Allah, Lord of the worlds, expressing our gratitude for all the blessings and for making us part of His creation. Allah reaffirms for His second time 2 of the most important qualities: the compassionate, the merciful. The last part refers to Allah as Master of the Day of Judgment, which introduces us to the reality of the afterlife, when we will all stand before Allah to be judged on our actions, which will ultimately lead us to heaven or hell. The next part, verse 5, describes the 2 components of what our relationship with Allah should look like. First, we should always remember Allah, worship Him, and second, we should always turn to Him to seek help and guidance. Now we talk about the last part of the chapter, verse 6 and 7, which focuses on the straight path. In verse 6 and 7, we ask Allah to guide us to the straight path, and the path that was taken by all the prophets and the believers who came before us, and not to be with those who Allah is unhappy with, or those who have gone astray. This chapter teaches us who Allah is and how to worship Him. The central message of the opening sets the stage for what is coming throughout the Quran. From here onwards, we'll tie back to the opening chapter of the Quran and His message. I leave you here. Fi amanillah wa sallallahu wa baraka ala nabina Muhammad. Astaghfirullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.